about finding the right old guy who said stuff a long time ago.
Voltaire all the way.
It's about asking questions.
Team Voltaire.
So back to bullying.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. This is the Drexel Freethought Society, extremely late because some people didn't feel like showing up on time.
And then our stuff
showed up
decided
on
not
time.
to work.
If we showed up at 5:30 like we were supposed to, we'd have already fixed these problems.
Oh, you're right. We probably wouldn't have this problem.
Anyway, welcome everybody. This is our weekly Drexel Freethought podcast. This week we're discussing bullying, and I already gave an entire introduction before, so I don't feel like doing it again, even though none of you will ever see it. My name is David McDevitt. I'm the president of this organization, and let's just go around again and introduce ourselves.
I am disembodied voice Sam.
I'm Alex, and I'm here because I'm bored. Yes, I did that again.
I'm the vice president of the Drexel Freethought Society. I am Dante.
My name is Colby, and I will be leading the discussion today.
All right, so bullying.
All right, so bullying. Well, when we were talking about bullying, we really came to three sort of core questions about bullying. The impact it has, the causes that bring it about, and prevention to stop it. Going to the impact, there's a multitude of studies that show the trauma that bullying causes. It causes lifelong destabilization for children, especially during their developmental years when bullying is a particularly pointed characteristic, I guess it would be. It comes out most in young children or teenage children, however you want to say it. Sorry, taking a moment to collect myself because my vocal static is absolutely terrible right now.
So I'm going to take this brief moment to tell everybody, get your thoughts together. If anybody is watching for some reason, you can join the social stream. It's on the side of the Ustream panel. You just kind of click on it. If you have an account, you can start talking to us. You can also email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com, and we'll answer your questions on the air. Give us ideas for new topics. We'll totally take them into consideration and likely pick them because it's getting more and more difficult to find new topics.
Seriously, we're only so many brains with so many ideas. Help us.
Yes, because I come up with all
Come
of
in
them.
person.
What?
Come in person.
Yes, do that also, unless you're from the crazy part of the internet. Then
Hey,
you
they're
can-
the most
then-
intelligent.
Depends on the species of crazy.
He's new.
Very.
To the inch. No, actually, I'm a veteran.
All right, so speaking on the impacts of bullying, some of the biggest reasons that bullying causes such trauma in children is that these things occur during the developmental years, when you're still developing your thought patterns, your emotions, how you react to everything around you, and when all that you know is abuse and derision and degradation. You internalize that to a degree that is indescribable, and coming back from that is incredibly difficult. So you combine an environment where young children seek out the acceptance of their peers at any cost. You know, the old joke is high school isn't a popularity contest. What high school did you go to? But so you combine a almost psychological need to be accepted with a horrible derision, and you begin to accept and internalize the things that other people say about you more and more because you want to be accepted by them, even if it means that you think less of yourself. If you think what they think, maybe they'll accept you, even if they think you're bad.
But then isn't that just a willpower thing?
That's the thing. It goes beyond willpower. It's not saying that if you're strong enough, you can overcome bullying. It's that you shouldn't have to. No one should have to be that strong to put up with the constant abuse of near 1,000 people on a daily basis. In my instance.
Well, yeah. But what if it's like a smaller instance and it's just like the casual kind of bullying that seems to be so popular?
Nerd.
Well, the casual.
I was never bullied.
The casual kind of bullying that occurs for most people is painful. It's still traumatic, and more than that, bullies are going now. That actually segues very well into some of the things that cause bullying. A study was done recently that analyzed the emotional states of bullies and popularity and how they correlated, and it showed that the higher into popularity you got, the more bullying was required of you, because at a psychological level, at that age, being a bully signifies confidence. Is one of the few ways that someone of that age can show confidence is to harass someone else and show your confidence over another person. And what happens is the higher in the levels you go, until you get to the very highest, this trend continues. At the very highest levels, you reach, as the study described, sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies, where there is literally no concern for other people's being.
Two things. First of all, I've also heard of studies where they've tested and they've said that any middle schooler you test with this test on what you said, sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies will come up sociopathic or psychopathic.
Yes, but that was not the core of the test. The core of the test was just analyzing trends of bullying.
What was the age
popularity.
range? You keep saying the age. What was the age?
The study was actually done in 3 separate instances. One was grades 3 to 5, second one was grades 6 to 8, and the final was grades 9 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the correlations were much stronger in the middle school bracket. 6 to 8 was when the extremes were sort of their greatest. But in the elementary school students, the trend tended to show that it was sort of inexperience in all parties that was causing this sort of some of the skewed numbers. And in high school students, it was sort of the temperance. This had become a part of their environment so much that it had become sort of a part of their daily life. So it just became ingrained in them rather than being in the middle school group. They had essentially, the bullies had enough practice to get better at it, and the ones who were being bullied hadn't had enough time or willpower to become resistant to the bully.
Well, this is just my own personal observations from going through elementary, middle, and high school. And overall, elementary school, there is no real experience in classes or anything like that, cliques or anything. So everyone is their individual. And then...
people have a mob mentality extremely early.
Well,
even if it's just like the dodgeball kids.
But no, they don't specifically form into groups and target each other during the elementary. When they get to middle school, it becomes very concrete and visible.
Yeah, that is again, one of the other things. That is when sort of social groups have begun to form in the extreme, and
the idea
that
is
causes the separation.
The correlation of making popularity to bullying, I think it goes something a bit more primal in human nature, because the human mind is that, okay, I am in a pack now, or I'm in a group now. I should just show that I'm an authoritative figure in this group by shunning others from this group. I should protect the group from others that are different from the group.
Except that it's not about protection, it's about self-elevation.
Well,
those are two very different things.
No, I see. I think that's us interpreting it from the outside. I think if somebody is just kind of, I want to keep myself safe, they'll demonstrate that by trying to bring other people down.
This guy here is smarter than me.
Well, by that
and my friends.
Wait, let's hear his.
This guy here, he's smarter than me and my friends. We don't want him to be getting near us, then he'll make us feel inferior. I should get him away from my friends by calling him a nerd.
Well, that is where you get into the very sort of the classic reasons for bullying. Oh, they're jealous of you. Oh, they lack confidence, so they have to bring other people down. These are sort of the traditional sort of stereotypes of bullying. But the thing is that people oftentimes ignore the very real and very dangerous sociological aspects, not just the personal aspects, in that our culture has engendered in people the idea that certain people are better than others, and you have to prove that on a regular basis.
True. But is that entirely inherently a bad thing? In its
the way
basis form, the idea that you should always strive to show your superiority.
yes.
But it's kind of but that's like the driving force for society.
Yeah.
Actually, then again, our other discussion said that our society is terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the idea of having to prove one's superiority, not to be superior, but to prove one's superiority, is completely a matter of narcissism. It's like the idea of if you are truly great, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. If you know you're great, you are great. It doesn't matter that other people know.
And a mature mind can comprehend that. But again, we're talking about between elementary and middle school, because in high school, these cliques do still exist, but you do see a slight decrease in the amount of severe bullying, specifically for
it's also because you can go to jail for it.
Yeah, because yes, and the idea is that the child matures to the point where they understand consequence of what they're saying to others and starts to develop empathy.
Yes, but well, that brings us into prevention.
You develop empathy around 12.
Yeah, and he said it was 12.
Yeah, but that's the thing. 12 is the age when bullying and severity of bullying escalated to ridiculous degrees. I think it was like a 60% increase in bullying in the ages of 12, 13, and 14, which would be like the middle school bracket, over either elementary or high school. So when we have developed our empathy is actually when we are the most vicious, because it's kind of
now we've learned how to justify things instead of just basically going off instinct.
Yeah, and it's kind of the idea of like shock. Like we're just beginning to learn what essentially good and bad in a way is. We've learned how to relate what happens to us to other people, and it's kind of a terrifying situation. And many people react to that with violence or by lashing out with bullying, be it degradation, be it isolation, physical abuse, however it is.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chaz. That was helpful.
Do I want to know?
Probably not.
What was it?
You can read it later. I'm not going to repeat it.
Where did you end up going to school when you were growing up? Like, what area?
I lived in a small rural farming community where I was the only person I was one of the only people who didn't go hunting on a regular basis from the time they were 8 years old. One of the only people who knew what a video game was, let alone played them. I had the reading level of a graduate high school student at 6. And so I was.
It's the U.S., so that's not very impressive.
Well,
at 6 years old, I was reading.
Pretty damn well.
I was reading Tolkien. So like, I was literally the most stereotypical bullying target that could ever exist. I was a short, fat, pasty white kid with no self-confidence and no friends. I drew literally every stereotype of bullying and abuse possible.
well, I had the similar thing, but minus the pasty part. I have when
You're kind of olive-ish.
well, yeah, and also if I'm in the sun long enough, I do become darker. My dad is Iranian, and that actually was something that I got targeted with sometimes.
I'm Native American. I'm Native American and Italian, and look at me.
but I can tell you the bullying I'm assuming you were bringing up the location because that can be a variable in this idea.
Exactly.
But honestly, the bullies, they exist and they act pretty much the same anywhere you go. I've gone to schools in Texas, Pennsylvania, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates.
But
All of them had their own bullies, but they all had same feels to them.
Exactly, but that's where the idea of the psychological aspects of human personality that bullying sort of hinges on.
Yeah.
It's not an isolated thing. Sort of the things that cause bullying, the reasons that people bully people. these are very sort of ingrained ideas in our cultures, like all cultures usually, and a lot of it has to do with. I know for a big thing for why guys are bullied. A big reason why guys are bullied in any culture is that they don't fit the stereotypical idea of masculinity.
Yeah.
Same thing is for women.
Yes, for women, you don't fit the stereotypical view of femininity.
Did you see what she wore yesterday? Like, it's the stupid stereotype, but
Yes,
it's
Like, oh my
it's-
gosh, Kelly looks so trashy.
But
Thank you.
but one way or another, all these things are incumbent on the idea that these people are somehow defying the rules. These, the people who are bullied are breaking the rules, and sort of this is their punishment. This is your punishment for not following the rules. This is your punishment for
Honestly,
not
one of those-
doing what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to be
Honestly
like
speaking,
us.
though, that's always existed throughout
It's
humanity.
it's a tribal mentality.
Yeah.
It's like we are the in group, so the out group is evil.
Yes, and
Or
that's
inferior.
again, well, one way or the other. The entire idea is based in very primal forms of human psychology. In order to break out of that, it's very important to teach children at a young age, very important things about the world itself. Just because
Well,
someone is different from you does
That's kind
not
of
mean they are
segueing
evil.
in. That's segueing into the next subject. I'm sorry. You go first.
I would also like to mention that if you went to school where I was, I had the exact. I was pretty much, well, from my perspective, a nerd since I was falling. But I
What's
never.
going on?
We're all wearing glasses.
I don't need mine. I don't need them.
No.
Sorry.
But
I'm sorry.
That actually is hilarious. Though.
But I was never bullied because I grew up in a nice suburb where people were diverse enough that you could find a group of people that had the same interests that you did.
So the environment.
So could
Right.
I, and all of us were made fun of. Me just more than other people.
But your area was
Yes.
such that everybody
The-
who was good,
Yeah, the in group was much bigger.
yes, the group wanted to hunt and kill shit, and you were not
play
into
football
that.
and beat shit up.
They
Oh,
went
yeah.
and kill shit, and you guys were deer.
Unfortunately.
And the idea is that again, going back to the idea that it's those people who are different who get targeted. Any kind of outlier. So it is partially incumbent upon where you live. What things are considered normal, what things are considered
Good.
good or bad.
I would have to partially disagree
Okay.
because look at me.
But that's the thing.
I break most molds that exist, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I was never bullied.
Well, that's because you express that incredible, almost alien exuberance and self-confidence, from your own stories as a child that that essentially defined you as the study I talked about. That
It's kind of like I'm different. Deal with it.
yeah, it's like that study I was talking about that analyzed sort of the correlation between bullying and popularity. It found that at the very highest levels of those popularity groups were one of two groups: the sociopaths and psychopaths, or those who were incredibly confident but didn't care about others. Essentially, when you began to not care about what other people were doing and saying, literally, like the old cliche, if you stop caring about what they say, they'll stop bullying you. It's true. Because if you act like you don't care about what other people are saying about you, they think you're more confident, whether
And they
you
will
are
just
or
run
not,
away.
and they will leave you alone, which is why you were never bullied, because you just literally didn't care. But that is incredibly difficult and rare for people when you're at
The question is why.
why for what?
Why is that a difficult characteristic to develop?
Well, the
It's
reason
just
the
At
reason
the
that
age that you would need it.
yeah, at the age
Yeah.
that you need it to develop that characteristic is incredibly difficult because your brain, most people's brains, are literally searching for anything to latch onto to try to develop itself in all different areas of itself. So if you have something as a child, like if you had something out before you started going to school, you had some reason that you needed to be confident. You had something that drove you to be confident, so that you're confident before you start spending time around these massive groups of people. You have an advantage there, but most people don't. Most people live, lives where they don't need this absolute confidence.
Shaz brings up a good point.
Okay.
That sort of information needs to be taught to you.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not something that you can really just develop.
I never said it was a solo process. It's definitely something that needs to be taught or learned from your environment.
Yeah, I think partially, like for my random life story, I'm the youngest of 3 children, so I was like the baby that was always wrong. So to be heard whatsoever, I have to be boisterous and really, really confident with everything I say, even if it was wrong. So thank you, brother and sister, for never ever listening to me.
So when you got into a situation where you're around children who weren't used to that, they saw that and said, this guy must be confident and be awesome about everything because he's confident. Whether you were or not, which I'm not even going to begin to ask or question or whatever.
I was a crazy kid.
Yeah, but the very nature of the fact that you had that confidence even sort of completely alienated anyone who would have targeted you. Because quite frankly, bullies are very good at picking people to target.
Okay, so like moving away from me, because I don't want this to be about me. How? It's true. I love talking about myself, but we shouldn't.
Hell.
If we were, what exactly needs to be taught, and how should we teach it to the young folk?
Well, it is a very difficult balance, to get the level of confidence needed to be able to be a part of a group and not give in to bullying and derision, but also to be humble enough that you don't create the psychotic.
The psychotic or the douchebag syndrome.
The douchebag syndrome that creates bullying. The idea that you are right no matter what. So it's
even if you're wrong.
Exactly. It is an incredibly difficult balance between the two. And I'll be the first to admit I am by no means prepared to make a clinical diagnosis that says how children should be raised in this instance. Because, fuck, I don't know.
Watch your language.
He didn't say K.
But still.
He was going to say fun.
Exactly.
Before delving more into this idea of the prevention via teaching them stuff, I want to go back to the idea of the impact of it, and the idea of if bullying didn't exist, what would that impact be equally? Because I think bullying does serve certain purposes over development.
It does.
Pick me.
Go ahead.
Yay! There's a big push in like the last 5-6 years to criminalize bullying.
Yeah.
Pretty much if you just go like, oh, you're such a good pal, suspended.
Yeah.
And what this does is create a horribly warped sense of morality and a horribly warped sense of the world.
Yeah.
People will not be nice to you by default in the real world.
Exactly, that's what I was saying. Like,
people will be neutral.
No,
a lot of people are just bastards.
School is meant as your breakaway into society. School is meant to temper you for society as being a reflection of society.
So you think bullies won't exist in the real world?
Yeah.
No, bullies exist with adults.
They're called bosses. And they're called police, and they're called all kinds of different people.
Okay, police and bosses aren't by default evil.
No, but they will force. They will make sure that you follow the laws of the.
And not everybody in those positions is a good person.
It's true.
I was bullied as an adult. I was bullied.
You were in the Navy.
No, I was in the Army.
The Army.
That's
I'm sorry.
The Army is meant to condition and break you down.
Yeah, no, there's a difference.
You're in the Navy.
I have no clue. But no, there's a difference.
You
see, I'm separating this from what the drill sergeants do because I already went with the mentality that they're supposed to mentally break you down and build you up. I'm talking about the other troops, the other soldiers. To me, basic training was like another school. And technically it was. I was learning how to be a soldier. This time I had to live with a bunch of other guys who came from many different backgrounds, races, creeds, beliefs, etc., etc.
And the armed forces do not have the absolute camaraderie that Hollywood makes them out to.
Not all the time. Not all the time. No, I mean, when stuff hits the fan, I'm sure a lot of people will stick together. I mean, you have those few oddballs like in the books and that tries to screw everybody over. But what I'm getting at is, even as an adult, Earl Joe,
You go.
Made noise.
18, 19, I was about 18 years old when I first got in. You still have guys that just get some of the adults. You have some of the guys that just came out of high school, like myself, and they still have this clique mentality. They're like, yeah, you know, they're best buddies over here, and look, this guy's a complete loser. Haha, let's just pick on him. And every time the drill sergeant picks on him, let's just pick on him after the drill sergeant gets him. You know, and I was targeted heavily, but I was a bit different than I was in grade school. And I was able to stand up for myself. And that's where, as much as I hate to admit, bullying does serve one positive purpose. I mean, positive is the wrong word, but necessary, there you go. And that it sort of prepares you for, because there are adult bullies.
Yes.
There are adult bullies, whether
This is
people
true.
believe it or not. And it does prepare you for what's to come. You will be bullied in the workplace. The problem is that since everyone is different, everybody has a threshold. Some people are going to evolve, you know, for lack of a better term. They're going to adapt to the bullying, and they'll stand up for themselves. Some people build their own confidence, like I did. No one really taught me how to have confidence. I kind of built it on my own. And some people are just going to react emotionally, rash. They're going to lash out physically. And I've actually came close to stepping over the line a few times. I mean, stuff I'm not really going to get too far into.
Yeah.
Sheer
It's
will.
fine.
Sheer will told me not to.
We don't want to encourage
Yeah, well,
random acts of violence.
as you were saying, you know, sort of the not necessarily good but necessary functions of bullying is the fact that, you know, as in my case, I went through a lot, but I would never take it back because it made me who I am, and it helped me to be a stronger person.
Exactly.
But at the same time, there's the idea that no person should have to be that strong. No person should have to go through those things and be strong enough to make it out on the other side.
Is the
You
human
see it.
nature though? Is bullying? Would you say bullying is just
Oh, yes.
completely natural?
I completely think it is.
Yes.
But I
It's
believe
a
that that's
tribal. It's tribal mentality on a smaller scale.
Yes, but I believe that that's something we should be trying to phase out of our own psyches.
I disagree.
Because
No matter what we do, unless we have like the appalling idea of a utopian society, then we will always have conflict, and we have to understand how to deal with it.
overall, I think
I don't want kids to get bullied, but I think they should have the experience, even if it's just a little bit.
specifically
Yes,
the
but that-
bullies that
But that's exactly the same thing. We need to have the proper mentality as sort
No,
of
no,
as
I
a
can use
security
it- I can
thing
use
to
it easy.
react to that.
It's like I can use an easy analogy.
Okay.
I want my kids to get too close to a candle because I want them to know how much fire burns.
Yeah.
Well, you get the same effect as they touch the stove.
Yes, but still,
Touch this. I don't care. Touch something hot.
it's like don't touch that. Fire is hot. Oh, daddy! Ow! Fire indeed hot.
There you go.
Thank you, Professor Farnsworth.
It's one of those things.
Opposite
It's like
learning.
I don't want my kids to hurt themselves. Well,
But
what
sometimes there is
parent
no
would?
better way to
Yeah,
teach them.
I want them to learn.
well, like you said,
At the same time, though, the mentality that there has been towards bullying, like in the past decades, in America at least, and currently, there's been such a wild swing from an absolute laissez-faire attitude. You know, let them be as they will; they'll figure it out, and it's good for them. And now has swung to anything that ever happens to a child is horrible and terrible,
They
and
have
now
to
must
live.
be
They have to
punished.
live in a
I
magic
have to
bubble.
admit,
Exactly.
I hate anti-bullying organizations because they seem so fake to me at this point.
Yeah.
So many of them seem like they're just trying to get in too late. Like it's the idea is like, oh, some guy got ran over by a truck, and everybody just kind of like stood there around doing nothing, and then one guy goes over and starts helping out. And they're all like, "Hey, we should help this guy out! Holy shit!" Like,
But more than that, I hate the mentality that so many of those organizations and like
Overkill.
speakers have. It's like children understand, you know, the basic premises. What they don't understand is like they don't see the actual stories. They don't see the actual impact that these things can have. You know, they know bullying is bad. You can really hurt someone's feelings, and that's what most of those seminars and speakers are about. You know, how would you feel if this happened to you? No, kids don't need that. Kids get coddling, and they get, you know, easy lessons. They need truth
Yes.
a lot of the times, and not like
documentary.
like they shouldn't be shown pictures of kids who killed themselves.
No.
Because that's horrible. I think that's a bit too much. That's horrible and traumatic. But like, they should know the stories of kids who, who went through this and tried to kill themselves, or spent their lives tormented by this.
I'm not even sure if that part is entirely necessary either. Going back to the idea of like teaching them the confidence they need in order to deal with bullying.
Yes.
It's not entirely that they need to never be bullied or that they need to have this confidence. What they need to experience the bullying but have a net in a way.
Yeah.
Have something to save them. Like you said before, you had like a group of friends that you
got very, very lucky. I had a group of people who refused to let me not be confident in myself.
The group idea, like finding their own group or forming their own group of the ones that are bullied, that is able to support each other and form that kind of safety net for when it gets to that point. Because honestly, like I've said before, I pretty much went through like a hell in school, and I came out one of the happiest SOBs you'll ever see. Because I keep thinking, you know what? It was worse back then. I'm fine now.
I always say, quite simply, I am not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Exactly.
It's my mentality of my entire life, and bullying is
Funny
something
story.
that
That's exactly what Chaz just brought up. Chaz actually brings up an interesting point. Talking about the amount of responsibility that the person being bullied has.
And that is a big thing, because it is. I don't want to make it seem like people who are being bullied, you are not powerless. You have the ability to get out of it. But it's something that is so difficult for, especially most kids, to realize or to deal with, that they never get to that point. And it's certainly possible, and it's something, again, the sort of thing that needs to be, taught to people. It needs to be shown to them that you can get out of this. You have power. You don't have to be a victim.
Yeah. I mean, with me personally growing up, like, what my dad taught me was that if someone, like, comes swinging at you or some shit, like if bullies get physical or some shit, like, you have the right to swing back. But
You have the right to defend yourself.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But
as opposed to right now, where you actually don't have the right to defend yourself.
No,
Exactly.
because if you defend yourself, you're actually more guilty.
yes, exactly. Which, keep in mind, my dad was from like the old school like styling.
No, so is my dad.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah,
Finish your thought.
because he went to school back in like the 60s and 70s. So back then, you were allowed to do things like defend yourself. But
You're allowed
nowadays,
to do any damn thing you wanted in the 60s.
yes. But like now, it's like if you defend yourself, you're just as guilty as the person who threw the
More
first
so,
punch.
actually.
Which is ridiculous.
Exactly. So your chance of not getting as much trouble is just sit there and take it like a bitch.
Yeah.
It's what I think what the
As
problem is
Joe
that-
so eloquently
As he often does.
It's like
Your
going
eloquence
for
is
flyable
astounding.
bazooka. I use that analogy a lot, but it's like that. It's like we have a problem. You only need so much ammunition to take care of the problem. Now, I mean, as far as bullying is concerned, yes, I believe that children shouldn't bully other children. But we also have to accept that there's going to be those few children that are not going to listen or are going to do it. So we should be simultaneously teaching two things. One, we should be teaching children not to bully, which is not going to be 100% effective because some children are not going to listen. And two, we should also be teaching children how to deal.
Well, I think it's
In a realistic way.
Yeah, I believe
with
it's
it.
threefold actually. One is teaching children not to bully. Two is teaching children not to allow themselves to be bullied.
And then three, help
is,
the damn bullied children.
That's where teaching, helping
Teach
them is to
kids morality.
yes. But the third one was to create sort of the after effect. To create the system where you punish people who are doing the bullying, but not excessively. Essentially, how to punish them for the things that they're doing, not for things that they have absolutely nothing to do with. Like, you can't punish a child for bullying as a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expel a kid from school for being mean.
Depending on
Also,
crime.
as another thing, like the group of friends is the best idea of a net or something to help them with understanding as like the morality and stuff. They'll understand as a group better than they will individually. But I swear to God, if I hear a guidance counselor, those worthless things, if I hear
Hey,
them,
guidance counselors are not worthless.
Yes.
well, okay, I'm sorry, mine, the ones I had
I'm
were.
very sorry.
The kinds that just say,
Depends
kinds
on
that say things like,
Guys.
oh, just walk away and
Yes.
find an adult, or
Yeah.
just count to 10. That thing.
Oh,
drove me
so
mad.
the response bots, the ones who have read a book and pre-programmed themselves
Yes,
with what's in it.
that.
Yes, those people are not helpful.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think is almost every subject we talk about child development, it starts in the home.
Yes.
Yes.
Personal
Absolutely.
fucking responsibility is up to a family to teach their child.
We stop swearing.
Sorry. Is up to a family to teach their child both parts of the three-part system, like the first two parts. It is your job as a parent to teach your child that. And yes, schools exist and they should have ways to deal with what's going on. But things that are academically taught are very different from values and morals and
Yes.
personal decisions. That is a home-based thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just seems to me like that so much of society nowadays is hypocritically claiming that people should be taking care of their own kids while complaining that their kids aren't being taken care of.
Yeah, and
We're really, and not just with kids, with all of society.
also, like, one of the things about bully, like, one of the things going back to what makes a bully,
Yeah.
one of the things that's often put on as one of those cliche responses is that they need an outlet or something. They have issues themselves and they want an outlet for it. Well, maybe they should try to find kids, have more, like, creative things for kids to find outlets for.
After school programs.
Yeah,
More money in the schools.
Yes.
More money into the right areas
Yeah.
of the school.
Something that they can
By
get
the way,
their-
be on your sorry, I will stop swearing. Be on the school board of your local school. It's one of the most powerful positions in this country.
Yes.
Really.
Yes. It
Go
really
on.
is.
But
Go on.
no, an outlet of some sort. Like, especially if not even in schools, like you'll find online there's a lot of bullying that's been going on lately, and also like,
Cyberbullying, by the way, is a very, very real and very, very dangerous thing.
yes,
It creates a situation where kids no longer even have an escape from
Yes,
the
yes.
things that they're being
parents,
put through.
why?
See, I don't even,
Why
I
do
don't
you think your
even,
kids
I don't
have
really buy
Facebook
that.
and they're
Kids really should be on
They're
Facebook
eight.
anyways.
yeah,
True.
seriously.
But
Facebook is evil. I do believe that.
see, I love
does,
Facebook.
It does more
but I'm
harm
mature,
than good.
I'm mature enough to handle it.
Yes.
The part that makes cyberbullying more dangerous is the fact that you don't even see your victim.
Yeah.
It's
You
that
can-
layer of anonymity
Exactly.
that makes it that much worse.
They have
Exactly.
actually
You
proven
can
that.
you can completely remove, essentially, especially as a child, when, as you said, you're just developing your empathy. You can now completely remove yourself from the idea that you're doing this to a person. You're just typing on a keyboard. You're not even actually saying these things to anybody.
I can't
For all you know, they're just a program in a computer, and that's how it's viewed. So you
No,
can
but
be even more
But the
vicious and even
difference
more terrible.
is you make a conscious choice to go online.
But that's
To very specific websites.
Yes,
There's ways
but-
to get rid of those people.
But at the same time, the social almost contract that exists among, especially children nowadays, is that is another aspect of social life. Like all of your social life is
Yes.
online.
I agree, but it doesn't
It pretty much
matter.
became an essential
But
for our
at the
lives.
same time, it's like, yeah, you can avoid being bullied. All you have to do is shut yourself off from everyone around you, and now you're not bullied anymore.
That's
That is not an
that's
answer.
hyperbole.
But
That's
it's
not what
not.
I'm saying.
It's-
If Facebook is where you're being bullied, don't go on Facebook.
And if Facebook is one of the only ways that you can interact with other people,
Then
which
block the
is
people
very-
that hurt you.
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how ingenious
Or how about
kids
this?
are with
How
it
about-
nowadays.
Depends on
I know
some boys don't
that
have-
some kids would have issues of it because it'd be it wouldn't be their private place anymore, but have your parents have some control in your Facebook.
I absolutely
Yes.
think that parents should have control
Well,
over
again,
children's
also-
online
they should be on it.
interactions.
Also, like, keep in mind, like, even if you block a certain person, they could just easily create fake accounts
Yeah,
just
that
to
happens
continue.
a lot.
That's
You can
that's
set your
very-
Facebook up so it can't, no one except people you specifically friend can see it.
That's true.
Yeah, but
so
also,
unless they dedicate a lot of time to befriend you first,
You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how much that actually happens.
it,
then I'd
yes.
just be like, congratulations, you wasted a large portion of your time.
And again, you were very different from almost any other child I've ever known.
Yes, but also,
Children are not confident.
Children
yeah,
should be on
but
Facebook.
I still one of the things, like, from what I read in the newspaper about, like, a few weeks ago, like, supposedly they're going to make a law against creating fake accounts. So after a certain day, when that law is passed, you don't have to worry about fake accounts anymore.
Well, we don't have to worry.
How can they?
but you
Because
would have to
technically
determine
pirating
how is it
movies is
safe.
illegal
Cyber
too.
is terrible to enforce.
Yeah,
And
and
also,
actually,
really
that is
we don't need any
Guys,
that is also-
one person,
That
Dante.
is also. Oh,
I mean, I don't want to throw politics in it, but we really don't need the government in everything. If anything, a lot of these problems that we have in our society could be handled at our level. Again, it's that fly in the bazooka thing. It's like, oh, fake accounts? Okay, let's just start arresting people for that. No, you can't do that, because then you have to determine, well, how is it fake? You know, it depends on how they set it up. I mean, if there's like one IP address that has like 20 million accounts and they're all random names, they're all pretty similar,
I think,
I think you can spot that.
I think-
No, but I guarantee
I
there'll be
think-
like
okay.
a random teenage girl that just could decide on which one she wanted.
It could
Yeah.
be that.
Like,
yeah.
I could argue that the reason why they're coming up with this is because some people, like, pass themselves off as celebrities, and yeah,
No, so slander.
yes.
Yeah.
So libel
that
is
that
slander.
that goes under slander.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has been happening.
But
Yeah.
honestly, a fake account is one of the good things I can think of for a kid who gets bullied to try. Like, if you establish a fake account and try to, like, approach this thing from a outsider's perspective in a way. Like myself, I created a fake character that was my avatar whenever I went online.
Okay.
And no one ever knew that this guy named Kevin was actually Alex. And I was able to develop myself a lot more by doing that than I was by talking to people who I knew had already this kind of bias set up.
Yeah, I have an avatar.
And like and furthermore about cyberbullying, especially on forums, because I go on a lot of forums and stuff. Again, like David said, you make a conscious choice to go on certain sites. So if you feel you're being bullied on the site, well, first off, if it really bothers that big, you A, don't go on the site anymore, or B, you talk to the admin. If the admin doesn't do anything, you should just leave that site, because apparently that's just a poorly managed site to begin with. If he's just like, oh, I don't care, you should chalk it up and take it like a man or whatever. Okay, well, fine. I'll leave your forum. I'll take my business, my ideas elsewhere. Yeah, but again, as far as Facebook is concerned, and I would even go as far as YouTube. Unless it's
Yeah, I was just gonna say
unless it's
YouTube.
moderated by a parent, they shouldn't be on there.
Yeah, that just gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially YouTube. And actually, I'm
All the
worried about
weird
my
part
two,
of YouTube,
even though
yeah.
my two little cousins are 12 and 13, I'm a bit worried about them being on my Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, on YouTube, period. They make videos on there, and like I said, I've been on YouTube for about, 4 years as far as my channel, and I've seen some freaking creepos on there. And
Yeah.
And the thing is, I say things, when I go on my YouTube channel, I say what I want. And my little cousins shouldn't be exposed to that, but they love my channel so much.
Oh, you're talking about the comments.
Yeah, that's the problem. And not to mention, the comments alone, the people I have, like, especially the hate man, it's just
Online interactions. There's a reason. Online video games. Online interactions not rated by the ESRB.
Okay, yeah, as a side note,
Yeah.
Parents with the children that are often bullying, one of the things you shouldn't use as an outlet is online games. You
Oh,
do not
God.
want that shit.
No, especially
Stop.
especially not Xbox Live. Trust me on this one.
There is a term for excessively angry and energetic children screaming obscenities online. They're called squeakers. And we want to find them and punch them in the voice box.
They have a name.
Most of the
Guys,
time, they are the kind of kids who do go out and bully other children. Because, for one, they have a violent tendency that's being supported by the games that their parents are letting them play.
Yes.
So parents out there that once more are for some reason watching this video,
Yes, all
like don't let
zero
your
of you.
don't let your children play extremely violent games when they're too young. Don't let them online until they're emotionally responsible enough to handle it. And don't let them use it as an outlet to hide from their other emotional problems.
Well, it's not so much just violent games, but like it's more or less like the parents just ignore the ratings in general because
True.
Yeah.
because I've seen like freaking 10-year-olds playing Call of Duty, and that's an M-rated fucking game.
Swearing.
All right.
What's
Wrong with you guys? First point of view.
We need a buzzer.
I actually ordered a gavel.
You did?
Good work,
We need it
sir.
about the meetings.
Alright, so, was there anything else you wanted to go over or discuss?
So we have like
this
15
issue?
more minutes.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well,
Anybody have any
Was there
stories
any-
of their bullying that
Oh,
they want
no.
to share at all?
I
Yeah,
personally
talk
don't,
about-
so
Um,
I'm sitting out this one.
Alright.
Myself, I have one that's, it's one of my less proud but very poignant statement about like what caused my bullying. When I was in 9th grade, not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but something happened that caused literally the 600 students in my high school and the 350 students in my middle school to know me and seek me out as a target of abuse on a daily basis. People would cross over from our middle school to laugh at me during lunch. This happened for well over a year until in 10th grade. I was walking along and someone hit me with a chair, like backed up into me when I was in lunch.
Oh.
They backed up into me in lunch and derisively made fun of me again. But I walked on and didn't do anything. I came back and took someone 2 seats down from them and did the same thing. So I picked them up, dumped them out of their chair, and smacked them with their chair.
Wow.
I got a fine. I was kicked out of school for a day. And I came back in, and people stopped making fun of me. And this is not sort of permission or this is not acknowledgement that being violent is a way to solve it, because it's not.
No.
It was because after that I simply stopped. It wasn't a good thing that I reacted violently, but what it did was it essentially gave me a single moment of clarity that I needed to just step away and just go, no, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to put up with everything you people are putting me through, and it doesn't matter. So if you are going to keep acting like this, I am going to be better than that. And because I didn't want to be violent. I didn't want to put myself through the situations that made me be mean, because I'm not a mean person. I'm not a violent person. And when I realized I was being in a situation that made me hit people with stuff, I was I was disturbed by it. That was in a situation that was making me hit people with things. And so I finally reached a moment, I found a moment where I said, no, I'm done. And I stopped letting people bully me. It took me a while, but I got there. And that was sort of the turning point.
Well, as an added note for the kids who get bullied, something that they should know is teachers, most of them will actually care about what's happening to you, unless they're like have issues themselves and are horrible people, you know.
Yes.
But they will accept it, but they might not be able to do anything entirely about it. For instance, I had a similar thing happen to me in high school where a kid kept picking on me. Eventually, I couldn't take anymore, and I think it was in a locker room. I was reading a book, and
I lost so many
swapped
books to
it.
catch up.
No.
People would pour ketchup into my books as I read.
No,
I wasn't allowed to have books from my school anymore.
He tried to grab my book. I pulled it away from him. He ended up tearing the pages and stuff, and I got really angry and I hit him. And then the whole thing went into this big issue that happened for the rest of the day. And later on, at even a year after it all happened, I was telling the stuff about it to someone, and my mom overheard me talking about it, and she was there. She came to the school and talked with the people when it happened, of course. And she said she heard herself some of the teachers that I was one of the teachers' pets, kind of
Yeah.
The teachers really didn't like talking with me and stuff.
Yeah.
She heard some of the teachers in the teacher's office saying, "Oh, and you hear Alex finally punched one of them. Good for him." Yeah, they actually said yes.
My
finally stood up.
my principal actually took me aside when everything was going on, and he was like, Colby, we legally can't let you get away with this. So you're suspended until tomorrow, and legally you have to pay this fine, because it was technically assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I hit him with a chair. Like, and
Laws are funny.
yeah, and so I had a $2,000 fine. Sorry, $200 fine.
I was gonna say $2,000 for breaking a chair.
No, I didn't even break it. I just hit him with it.
Yeah.
Still,
He did-
you
he
hit someone with a
He
chair.
did pass out. He
Okay.
did pass out, but
Yeah, so $200 fine.
yeah, $200 fine, and I was suspended for a day. Like, people, they understood what I was going through, I guess. Like, they realized I had had enough, and I'm not proud of it. I was actually quite upset by it, but it kind of helped me get to the place that I needed to be to move on.
Yeah.
I think one note, besides bullying by children, is I think one of the worst things a child can experience, because I've been bullied, maybe not as bad as kids, but pretty darn close, is when the adults don't seem to care. That's where you'll get a lot of that, a lot of these bad emotions. And one example was, I don't remember everything, it was pretty fuzzy. I just remember that I was in physical ed class in middle school. And it was always the same group of kids, always mess with me. It took me to be physical more for them to know, but this was before that. And they were making fun of my ears. My ears used to stick out like this. So called Dumbo, drew pictures, everything, just constant. And there were some points where I either got mad at them or I cried. But this one day, teacher was right there. That's the really hilarious part. And a group of them were just making fun of me, talking about my ears. And instead of yelling at them like I usually do, I raised my hand. I was like, teacher, these guys are messing with me. And his response probably ticked me off more than anything else. He was just like, stop all your crying, just take it. That's exactly what he said to me. And I just stood there in complete disbelief. I'm like this, I forgot how I was. It was like 5th grade. I was in complete disbelief. And then after that, I just got in my head, me having this young mind, it's like, no one really cares what happens to them. I was like, that does it.
Yeah, that was my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Bastian. Yes, he had the same last name as me.
Wow.
We were doing a sort of like one of the physical days, where everyone says design a health regiment, and we had these exercise plans that as a class we drew up.
Oh God.
And
Wow.
And so we were supposed to go through how much of each of them we thought we'd be able to do. And when he collected them all, he looked at mine and said, "Colby, there's no way you can do this." What do you mean? There's no way you can do this, do push-ups, or no, it was sit-ups. There's no way you can do push-ups for 5 minutes straight. I was like, well, I don't know, how long is that? He was like, all right, you want to know how long? Come up in front of the class. And he made me do push-ups or sit-ups until I couldn't, until I was crying because I couldn't do them, and would not let me stop until 5 minutes was done. And if I laid back because I was tired, he made me do more.
I mean, that's grounds to get fired.
Everyone else laughed, and I was 10, so I didn't know what to do.
Wow, you really did have a rough.
And that was far from the worst. That was just an adult who had done it.
Yeah.
You see, that's the problem, though, is because we're taught from when we're born, for good reason, that adults are people we're supposed to listen to.
Yes, it's a very necessary function in order to learn from adults.
It's like we're biologically programmed to obey authority figures.
Yes.
Essentially,
it's like with our parents. If we don't listen to our parents, there's nothing else that they can do. They can't teach us if we're unwilling to listen. So we're taught.
No, I understand, but I mean, this is the problem, though.
Yeah.
Is because we have that locked in our minds, and we start getting to a point where our brains start working.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're just kind of like, all right, so now adults can't be trusted.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes in what Dante was saying, is that can make you start spiraling.
Yeah.
When what has been bashed into your brain your entire life, that adults are the ones that will protect you, adults are going to be the ones that will save you when things get bad, and then that's completely destroyed. That's a damaging situation for a child to be in.
Yeah.
Especially when the adult is the book.
Following the same idea of what happened with you and your PE teacher, the peak of my hell in United Arab Emirates, specifically was Dubai. It was in Dubai.
Wow.
And the peak of it was this science teacher. I don't remember his name even anymore, but he always had an issue with me because I had a bit of emotional instability and would cry at times. Like I was easily brought to tears.
So you were
So was I.
unfortunately very solidly in mass, like not like saying you were, but like you were an easy target for like
Yes.
that section of bullying.
But see, he knew about this because there had been a couple moments in the class where I'd ended up crying because of stuff that happened. And what he did was one day the counselor was, the guidance counselor that wasn't a good guidance counselor, sitting in on the class, and he said he was just here to observe the class for something like a normal observation or something.
Yeah.
And then throughout the class, he periodically went out pushing every one of my buttons he knew at the time in order to get me to start crying. Like he would ignore my questions and like not let me answer anything and just like purposely targeting me.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he and the guidance counselor dragged me off to the back of the room into this like little back room where they had the supplies and stuff, and sit me down and started talking to me about it, saying that I should not be crying anymore and I need to stop it. And they even like brought out, the guidance counselor got out a contract, like a 3 or 4 page contract about how I will stop crying and won't cry anymore.
You're a child.
What in the flying?
How
Yes.
old were you?
Did you sign it?
What year was this? I think this was maybe I think this was like freshman in high school, if I remember correctly.
So you were a 14-year-old kid
Yes.
who was being handed a legally binding contract,
Yes.
not to show emotion.
In a back room with 2 adults.
What kind of
Did you rip it out?
insane?
And
Did you
no,
sign
they
it?
gave it to me, and I started crying my eyes
Yeah,
out, saying, "No, I don't know, I can't do that. I don't know how."
Yes, of
And like I
course.
started, I understood the idea of what a contract was. I understood what a contract was.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to talk to my parents first. I want to talk to them before I sign
It's
it.
insidious and
right.
appalling.
And
That
just
is
the-
horrible.
I'm more
That, like I
confused than
said,
anything
like I
else.
said, Dubai was a hell to me. At least the school system was. It's a wonderful place to visit. It's a terrible place for like
raise
growing up.
children.
It seems, but and once I got out of there, honestly, when we came back here to Pennsylvania, I went back to the same school system I was in. We were only there for 6 months. I went back to the same school system I was in before with the same kids and the same bullies. Everything just seemed brighter. Everything was just, hey. You
After
know what?
that, yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
At least I'm not
I'm
goodbye.
You said you wanted to say something?
Yeah, like did the contract mention anything? What would happen if saying you did sign it? Like what would happen if you did break the contract?
If I cried, I would get like sent to detention and stuff.
Kind of not.
Why would you
Seriously, what
agree
the
to that?
hell?
Exactly.
Like, why would you sign it?
I think the thing was like the
Did they give you
teacher would be
cookies?
nicer or something like that. I don't know, some weird.
We'll stop
optional
torturing
thing
you if you
that-
sign this paper.
It was,
What the fuck?
and that, like I said, my
Sorry,
dad
sorry.
honestly was going
I
to
had
sue
to
them
that
at
one time.
first, but
I know there is no
I'd be
would
okay with
sue,
that.
there is
Yeah.
you are sued. Hello, this contract is going to my lawyer. I hope you like owing us.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
we
close
have,
it off.
Guys, we have 2 minutes left. So, any final thoughts on bullying? Any advice you want to give to the children?
It sucks. Don't do it. Always find an adult if you're in trouble.
just get a safety net. Get a group of friends who you know you can rely on.
What? Final thoughts, quickly.
Find the thing that you need to make yourself strong. Seriously.
Except drugs, video games, escapism, or other things like that.
Find the things
I'm
that
a
make you
big
strong.
Find your
fan of
friends
video
facts.
games.
No, find the things that make you strong, not the things that make you feel better. Those are two very different things.
Okay.
Yes.
For the really young kids, parents, do your job.
Yeah.
For the really young kids.
Fantastic. Well
That is
said.
your job.
You didn't say anything yet.
I'm the president. What you say is my opinion.
Narf.
I own your
Lazy
thoughts.
little.
No, you don't.
No, give your own damn
He's being a
thoughts.
bully. I think
I'm
I should
sorry.
eliminate him.
I'm
What?
sorry. You own our thoughts.
Think of something.
Well, if you remember, I was the first one to give advice. I just repeat everything that everyone just said. We have a
You
good
lazy SOB.
Is that a bad thing?
Only I'm allowed to be lazy.
Work smarter, not harder.
Good. Dave.
Exactly.
Okay, there we
That's
go.
what knowledge is for.
That's enough, Dave. You can go to bed now.
Take the floor, please.
We're the Drexel Freethought Society, apparently. Thank you all for tuning in. If you guys want to see this video, you can find us on Ustream, or you can go to our website, drexelfreethought.org, and you can find us there. We have a forum set up. Eventually, we'll start writing our blogs. I don't know why that's.
And
okay.
eventually,
if you want to email us, we're at drexfreethought@gmail.com. Thanks for viewing.
and eventually
Bye.
we will get YouTube.
Eventually, YouTube.
Eventually, YouTube. I will try.
Hi, internet people. Good night.
Notice, I'm going to be somehow